After being rooted in Zhongshan for 24 years, Canon's factory has finally shut down for good, an ending that leaves many with a deep sense of regret. Not long ago, Nvidia was also reported to be gradually exiting the Chinese market, and the global software giant SAS announced its own withdrawal. Looking further back, McDonald's had already sold the operating rights of its mainland China business to domestic capital. Starbucks, too, brought in Boyu Capital at a valuation of around $4 billion, effectively completing a sell-off of its China operations. Many people cheered these moves, seeing them as domestic capital stepping in to take over international giants, a so-called victory. But the harsh reality is this: the business environment has become so fiercely competitive that even a super brand like Starbucks is struggling to turn a profit. You've probably noticed it too. Over the past few years, the pace of which foreign capital is pulled out of China has been far faster than most people imagined, and there are almost no signs of turning back. Recent news has been overwhelming to keep up with. Toyota has shut down its factories in Guangzhou and Wuhan. Mitsubishi Motors stopped vehicle production last year and will completely exit the Chinese market next year. Volkswagen has closed its Changsha plant. Samsung's Huizhou factory suspended operations last year. Canon's factories in Zhuhai and Zhongshan have been shutting down one after another. In March, IBM dismantled its China investment company. In April, Microsoft closed its R&D center, and its AI lab in Shanghai has also been disbanded. Recently, global business giants such as Starbucks and Burger King have been quietly disposing of their operations in China and withdrawing from the market. The reasons behind this are worth exploring, and the situation in the tech sector is even worse. Nvidia's Jensen Huang announced a 100% exit, and Dell, Micron, and IBM have also laid off employees and withdrawn. Chang Shuo, which has been based in Shanghai for 20 years, has relocated. As China's economic growth continues to slow and rising nationalist sentiment intensifies, foreign companies operating in China are facing greater uncertainty. Some multinational corporations are beginning to reassess the importance of the Chinese market, gradually reducing their investment scale and even terminating cooperation with Chinese companies. This trend has also exacerbated domestic employment pressure to some extent. Recently, Japanese imaging equipment manufacturer Canon announced the closure of its printer factory in Zhongshan, Guangdong, and plans to shift its business focus to areas such as medical imaging and semiconductor equipment. This restructuring affects approximately 1,400 employees. Canon stated that it will provide affected employees with financial compensation and re-employment support, and most employees expressed understanding and acceptance of the company's arrangements. Canon Corporation entered China on June 12, 2001 by establishing a wholly owned subsidiary, Canon Zhongshan Office Equipment Company Limited, in the torch development zone of Zhongshan, Guangdong. Production will officially cease on November 21, 2025, after 24 years of operation. With the closure of the last production line, company head Hideki Azawa, after properly handling compensation and resettlement for all employees, also ended his many years of work and life in China. Canon's China president originally planned to leave quietly, but the news still reached employees. More than 300 staff members broke through security just to catch one last glimpse of their president, even causing an 18-minute flight delay. Although Canon ultimately shut down its factories, the compensation offered to employees was far above what the law requires. That is truly admirable and inevitably brings to mind the old slogan, "Canon delighting you always." Setting aside historical factors, many Japanese companies' practices in employee protection, corporate responsibility, and long-term thinking are indeed worth serious study by Chinese enterprises. Many employees also took to social media to share their own experiences and emotions. One said she worked her way up from the production line to a team leader and ultimately received 880,000 yuan in compensation. "I'm truly grateful." Another, who worked as a cleaner at Canon for 12 years, said, "The 300,000 yuan compensation has already been paid. I'm getting ready to go home and retire." Yet another employee, after 16 years with the company, received 160,000 yuan in his account on the afternoon he left the factory. The biggest news in manufacturing and the workplace over the past few days has been the closure of Canon's Zhongshan factory. Their compensation package has reached a new high, 2.5 times the normal wage, plus 5 months' salary, plus 10,000 yuan. This amount is substantial, with many long-term employees receiving over 400,000 yuan or even more. This is a considerable sum for any working person. When these foreign companies withdrew, most chose relatively dignified methods, offering compensation packages often including N+1, N+7, or even N+11. Canon's Zhongshan factory even offered a 2.5N compensation package plus additional severance pay, which is exceptionally rare in the current manufacturing environment. Some believe that the withdrawal of foreign capital is a good thing, as domestic companies can quickly fill the vacated market share. However, I would argue that while market share may be easy to take over, the value brought by foreign companies is not easily replaced, especially their respect for labor laws, their reverence for workers, and their relatively higher salary levels and severance compensation mechanisms. These invisible yet essential underlying standards are, at least for now, far from being truly up to standards by many domestic companies, including some so-called large factories. It's not just Canon. Many foreign companies are gradually withdrawing from the Chinese market and moving to countries like Vietnam and India. Putting aside other factors, the welfare and benefits offered by foreign companies are something our domestic companies should really learn from. They pay overtime, fully pay social insurance and housing provident fund contributions, and provide genuine compensation upon resignation. Their closure now marks the end of an era. In addition, Japanese automaker Honda has decided to close some of its gasoline-powered vehicle production plants in Guangzhou and Wuhan, and simultaneously implement layoffs to cope with declining demand in the Chinese gasoline-powered vehicle market, while shifting resources to the electric vehicle sector. Some analysts believe that Honda's adjustment is not only related to changes in industry structure, but also influenced by specific policies and social environment factors against the backdrop of tense Sino-Japanese relations. Related commentary notes that Honda has faced issues such as technology transfer requirements and procurement restrictions in its operations in China, which have long constrained its strategic space in the Chinese market. As a company with core strengths in engine control systems and CVT continuous variable transmission technology, any further reduction of Honda's footprint in China could weaken China's access to key technologies in these critical areas of the automotive industry. More importantly, Honda's adjustments may affect the entire Japanese supply chain ecosystem, including parts and technology partners such as Denso and Aisin. It cannot be ruled out that they too may scale back their investment in China, posing challenges to the stability of related industrial chains. From an employment perspective, factory closures have already impacted a large number of frontline workers. When upstream and downstream supporting industries are taken into account, the scope of this impact could expand even further. Similar trends are evident in the consumer electronics sector as well. Sony's mobile phone business has officially exited the mainland Chinese market, making a complete withdrawal of its operations in China. This, from another angle, underscores the accelerating contraction in foreign brands' presence in the Chinese market. A company's workforce has shrunk from 671 to just 3. This isn't bankruptcy, it's Sony Mobile Phones quietly withdrawing from China. Just a few days ago, Sony's official WeChat account was deactivated, its Weibo account has been inactive for over half a year, and its offline channels have almost disappeared. These actions indicate that Sony Mobile Phones are quietly exiting the Chinese market. Many other foreign brands are also fleeing China. Triumph has officially announced that by the end of this month, December 31st, it will close all its stores in China and cease operations in the country. This means the German mid to high-end lingerie brand will exit the Chinese market entirely. Triumph entered China in 1992, more than 33 years ago. It operates 2 factories in China and employs over 10,000 people. In addition to Triumph, the French apparel brand Etam has also exited the Chinese market. Meanwhile, Japanese lingerie manufacturer Walco significantly scaled back its presence in China in the 2024 fiscal year, closing nearly 10% of its stores nationwide. The company has made it clear that it will continue phasing out long-term loss-making stores to reduce operating pressure. At the same time, the American brand Victoria's Secret has been adjusting its China strategy. As early as 2023, it shut down its Beijing flagship store, once its largest in the country. Meanwhile, the beauty industry has also begun to experience significant turbulence. By the end of November this year, the beauty industry had seen a total of 953 manufacturing factories shut down. 44 cosmetic companies entered bankruptcy and liquidation, and 38 beauty brands exited the Chinese market outright. More than half of them linked to major groups such as L'Oreal and Shiseido. Amara Pacific in particular represents one of the leading giants spanning Europe, the United States, Japan, and South Korea. Overall, Korean-style makeup and K-beauty brands that were once hugely popular in mainland China are now broadly facing declining sales. However, as the saying goes, when one door closes, another opens. Financial reports from several leading K-beauty companies show that they are regaining growth momentum in European and US markets. Taking Amore Pacific as an example, in the third quarter of 2025, overseas sales accounted for 43.4% of its total revenue, up 2.9% year-on-year, with the US market alone contributing more than 15%. In recent years, an increasing number of foreign companies have been gradually withdrawing from the Chinese market, continuously reducing their staff in China. Taking Suzhou as an example, the total number of layoffs by foreign companies over the past 5 years has exceeded 300,000, leading to increased vacancy rates in many previously leased office buildings. It's reported that in 2024, nearly 60,000 new foreign invested enterprises were registered in China, an increase of about 10% year-on-year. Still, the actual use of foreign capital decreased by more than a quarter. You might wonder why foreign companies like Starbucks, which have thousands of stores in China, are willing to give up such a vast market. The fundamental reason is that these foreign companies have been overwhelmed by the competitive pace of the domestic market. Take Starbucks as an example. In China, Luckin Coffee drove down the price of the same coffee to below 10 yuan a cup. Later, other brands like Kuti Coffee emerged, leading to fierce and rapid competition. Coupled with subsidies from food delivery platforms, the price of coffee became almost equal to the cost of water. Under these circumstances, it's clearly difficult to make money in the market. The reality is that domestic companies can often gain market share with gross profit margins as low as 20%, or even at a loss, creating a strong price and cost advantage. Foreign companies, on the other hand, typically need to maintain profit margins of over 30% to operate, which makes them unable to cope with intense competition. Take domestically produced new cars as an example. A profit margin of at least 30,000 yuan can still be used to sell market share, almost like charity. In the end, foreign companies have no choice but to withdraw. A similar situation has occurred in the pharmaceutical field. In the 10th batch of centralized drug procurement last year, domestic pharmaceutical companies bid with suicidal prices, offering only 3 cents per aspirin tablet, directly squeezing the survival space of foreign pharmaceutical companies in the hospital market. This kind of low-price competition may indeed give consumers a short-term taste of success, but in the long run, it will only continuously squeeze corporate profits, inevitably backfiring on product quality in the industrial ecosystem. A deeper question is whether the contribution of foreign capital to the Chinese economy is really as small as many people imagine. Don't forget, reform and opening up are not just about reform, but also about opening up. The role of foreign capital far exceeds intuitive understanding. It supports at least 20% of China's R&D investment, over 25% of its industrial output, and over 30% of its foreign trade. When foreign companies are swept away and choose to withdraw, they take away not only capital but also R&D capabilities, management systems, technological accumulation, and the entire supply chain that is highly intertwined with them. Once these are lost, they cannot be recovered quickly through low prices and involvement. The involution we often talk about seems unstoppable on the surface, but in reality it harbors enormous hidden dangers. Because what is being swept away is not just competitors, but also our untapped potential. While excessively low prices may seem to benefit consumers, are they really good for consumers? For example, if live streaming e-commerce bankrupts all factories, it will become virtually impossible for ordinary people to buy high-quality, reasonably priced products. Disorderly competition often leads to a bad money drives out good situation, a phenomenon that must be addressed. The current clamor for anti-involution and anti-internal friction essentially leaves others with no way out, while also plunging oneself into difficulties. Ensuring product quality and reasonable prices is a prerequisite for a healthy market. Otherwise, the future environment will be far more challenging than we imagine. To put it bluntly, this kind of competitive model really needs to change. If it doesn't, more foreign brands will withdraw, but it's absolutely nothing to be proud of. This is not a win for us. It's the business environment itself that has turned into one where making money has become extremely difficult, to the point that even international brands deeply rooted in China for many years are struggling. Think about it, domestic small and medium-sized enterprises, whether they like it or not, have all been dragged into the mire of involution. They are stuck in a dilemma, unable to truly survive, yet unable to shut down and walk away. Foreign companies, on the other hand, can leave, which precisely shows that they still have choices. If things don't work out here, they can go to other countries. Even Decathlon has already shown signs of pulling back. Will there be more in the future?
外企撤离
There are two main reasons behind the withdrawal of foreign companies. First, rising geopolitical risks and costs. Second, the growing competitiveness of domestic firms such as Huawei. With Huawei's 5G technology leading the world, domestic brands are winning and local companies are clearly rising. But after foreign brands pull out, some so-called domestic products quickly raise prices. Dio Soda has seen its prices double. Bestor changed its packaging and raised prices. Even truly local brands are no exception. One domestic sportswear brand increased shoe prices by 60%. Badminton prices rose accordingly, and some sneakers were even speculated up to nearly 50,000 yuan a pair. The price of floral water jumped by 130%, and with new packaging, the price per milliliter increased eightfold. In the technology sector, domestic substitution has indeed produced some relatively successful cases. A prime example is the sharp price reduction of cardiac stents achieved through technological breakthroughs and institutional procurement mechanisms that lowered costs and ultimately delivered tangible benefits to ordinary people. However, in many consumer sectors, the so-called domestic relay looks more like local brands quickly taking over pricing power after foreign companies exit. Prices have not fallen, in some cases they have even risen. This raises a critical question: is this a genuine rise of domestic brands? Whether this represents a genuine rise in domestic products or simply a change in the harvesters warrants serious reflection. More worrying still is that market pressure is not borne solely by foreign companies. An increasing number of domestic firms are also struggling to survive. In China's mobile display industry, the well-known brand Shenzhen Sulong Technology Company Limited recently announced its withdrawal from the domestic market. This news, rather than being a judgment on the success or failure of a single company, should be seen as a warning sign for the entire industry, and even the broader market environment. Industry insiders widely agree that a brand's ability to survive stably and sustainably has never been solely an internal corporate issue, but is closely tied to the macroeconomic environment, the structure of industry competition, and institutional costs. For example, the first point is our market competitiveness. The domestic screen market has become highly competitive in the past 2 years, with many brands using low-price strategies to capture market share. Brands like ours, which focus on quality, may face pressure in this price competition, leading to a decline in market share. Netizens pointed out that the second reason is the cost of after-sales service. In recent years, competition in after-sales policies in the domestic market has been fierce. As everyone has probably noticed, trading after-sales service for lower prices has become the norm. Whether it's a full warranty or other service methods, after-sales service has almost reached its ceiling, making it challenging to reduce costs further. Therefore, competition in the domestic market is exceptionally fierce. If brands struggle to find a balance between after-sales service and healthy development, they will find it difficult to survive without sufficient profit margins. Some brands may therefore see greater potential and better development opportunities in overseas markets and shift their resources abroad. And this adjustment is a strategic choice, not simply a failure or exit from the market. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.